Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Completionist playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS. And in this episode, after all the fights in the previous episodes, especially the one with Menkar and the other guys, we have some healing up to do, we have some fatigue to remove, and we're going to go to rest soon. But before we do that, I'm going to buy 3 potions of genius, because we already have one in our potion case. And we're going to do a big scribing session with Edwin and Senashira, and we're also going to identify a couple of items. So I've already prepared a little bit of those scrolls in the inventory of Senashira and Edwin, but it's not nearly enough, I guess. There's going to be plenty more for them to scribe. And yeah, now we're going to fill in a lot of gaps in Edwin's spellbook, and also Senashira is going to learn some essential spells, like Spell Shield, for example. That's going to be very important in the future. Spell Sequencer is an amazing spell as well. Yeah, first let's do Edwin, I guess. He has a lot to learn. His selection is going to be much improved after all of this is done. I'm not going to, of course, memorize or scribe vocalize. It's going to always be a scroll. Yeah, some basic spells he's lacking, but all of that is going to be fixed. Oh, of course, Stone Skin is a very important one. Now, Spell Trap, Mass Invisibility, Keldon's Ward and Rip, I think I'm going to first scribe them on Senashira rather than on Edwin. We're of course going to get more scrolls to scribe these spells into the spellbooks of all of our mages, but we have to remember about our priorities, I guess. Alright, and that's going to be it when it comes to this scroll case. But there's going to be also some spells from this one, I think, that Edwin wants to learn. Let's see, he can get some basics. I'm going to prioritize that. Oh yeah, Senashira already has that. These spells, I'm not sure yet if I want to have them on Edwin. Those are like level 8 spells, so we don't have to worry about them yet. But I think these scrolls I might keep for a different mage that we're also going to have. A lot later in the game. Oh, Edwin doesn't have Fire Shield Red either. That's going to be something that I want to learn first with Senashira, though. This is going to be also a serious chunk of experience, and now we can actually allow ourselves to, you know, scribe a lot, like as much as we want, because we have our core party for Shadows of Amn assembled. So of course Korgan is eating away at a portion of that experience, but it doesn't matter all that much. And at least it's not going to be, you know, as effective as like mass scribing when it comes to experience. So Korgan keeps that a little bit in check. I am going to already get Simulacrum on Senashira. Oh yes, these very important spells here. Protection from magical weapons is going to be just of prime importance for a character like Senashira. Yeah, we also need, yeah, Secret Word, Fire Shield Red, Minor Sequencer. Now our mages are going to be prepared. Now we're getting somewhere. And finally this scroll case. Let's see what is in here for Senashira. Yeah, I'm going to already get those spells on Senashira. Okay, and we're going to be done after this portion. Dang! Now we have some spells, dude! And there's There's a little that gets me as excited as getting some new spells, man. Getting some new goodies, new toys to play with. Anyway, here's another Wand of Lightning with 8 charges. That cursed berserking sword from Smailov that we're going to sell. And the Sand Thief's Ring, the Ring of Invisibility. And if you remember it from Baldur's Gate 1, it had quite a few charges, but here it just has an invisibility once per day. So let's just keep it on. Actually, let's do it like that. Keep it on Kirinai. She's going to get, I think, a lot of value out of that. Kirinai can get her daggers back already, and we can just keep some stuff, some lightweight stuff on Edwin, I guess. And here, one of these scrolls, yeah, protection from undead, one of them is legit. Okay, now, oh yeah, of course we have this Cloak of Protection +1 on Senashira. Then Jaheira has one two-handed sword. Anoman has some stuff. And that's it. Kirinai has the boots. And Corrigan has some stuff. Oh yeah, Corrigan also can keep these arrows here, so we know we have some good arrows. Of course we can put them in the ammo belt, but let's just have them more visible, I guess. Actually, you had the two-handed swords. Okay, Bracers of Defense AC 6. Oh, by the way, we can give one of them to Edwin, and now he's going to be able to unmemorize armor. Oh yeah, the Boots of Stealth, basically 35 stealth in total. And yeah, Plate Mail +1. And this is the Short Sword +2 from Mavar's Guild. Another Wand of Fire. This one just has 10 charges for both spells. And this Bastard Sword +1. So we're going to have to also do some selling. Anoman was able to level 12, and now we have a proficiency point with him and some more spells. Most importantly, level 6. And yeah, when it comes to his proficiencies, like I said, I'm going to start up on leveling him with flails, so that at level 16 he can, probably by that time we're going to have some Flail of Ages for him, and he's going to be able to dish out some nice damage with that. Also, I am going to hold on to that amulet of Metaspell Influence in that little gem bag of Kirinai with the situational jewelry. Alright, now the only thing before resting we have to do is rework our spells. So Senashira doesn't have to have that glitter dust anymore, and I think this is basically a choice between blur and more mirror images, and I think I'm going to go with more mirror images for now. Now here, I am going to keep slow, I think, on Senashira, but Edwin is going to have some hastes. I am going to have Spell Thrust on her. That one Ghost Armor is fine. And maybe Remove Magic, so we have two sources, two like proper mages with some Remove Magic. It's going to be useful. Here, I might get either Secret Word, maybe Emotion, maybe Minor Sequencer to... Although I don't really have any special combos in mind for any fights right now. Also Fire Shield Red might be important for her at some point, a Minor Globe as well. Actually, for a certain fight, upcoming fight, I think I'm going to go with Minor Globe. Here we are going to have one Breach and one Chaos. It is not yet time for Spell Shield, but this is going to be a very important spell later on for us. And that's it. And now when it comes to Edwin, yeah, you don't need that armor anymore, you don't need all this. I'm going to have like 2 shields on him, and the rest can go into like some magic missiles, I guess. Maybe 1 chromatic orb. Now here we don't need that, we don't need that. We're going to have like maybe 3 mirror images, 2 glitter dusts. This 1 web is fine, I think I'm going to use it in an upcoming encounter. And 1 acid arrow is also fine. Here we don't need fireball, we don't need the summons, and I think the flame arrow is just not powerful enough yet. I am going to have 2 hastes on him, 1 spell thrust, and, well, I'm now noticing that he doesn't have slow, and I think I had a scroll of slow. Or am I just blind? Yes, and I didn't scribe it. Okay. Good that I noticed it now and not after resting. So yeah, 1 slow for sure. 2 haste, remove magic, spell thrust, all that is fine. Yeah, well, let's have this flame arrow. He's a conjurer. Let him have a conjuration spell. Okay, we don't need so many of these minor globes. We don't need that for now. He's going to have secret word, stone skin, some emotion, and improve invisibility, I think. And here I don't need all that for now. 1 shadow door can stay actually. You're going to have like 2 chaos, 1 breach, and maybe spell immunity. Alright, I think we're done for now. Now we can say hello to Patricia. Hello! And get some well-deserved rest. Alright, let's get the best room available. Oh, and a second dream coming up.
Life is strength. This is not to be contested. It seems logical enough. You live, you affect your world. But is it what you need? You are different inside. This woman lives and has strength of a sort. She lost her parents to plague, her husband to war, but she persevered. Her farm has prospered, her name is respected, and her children are fed and safe. She lived as she thought she should. And now she is dead. Her land will be divided, her children will move on, and she will be forgotten.
She actually has a name, by the way, Elia. Even though she only appears in this dream sequence.
She lived a good life, but she had no power. She was a slave to death. I wonder if you are destined to be forgotten. Will your life fade in the shadow of greater beings? You are born of murder, the very essence of that which takes life. You have power if you wish it.
So yeah, depending on what we answer here, this is going to progress slightly differently. This is kind of like, you know, the power-hungry evil option, I guess, if you simplify it. And that is going to make our character in the dream actually cast Meteor Swarm and destroy all of these, like, petrified humans. But we're going to go with this one.
Really? But the consequences are so very real. Your actions affect so many others than yourself. You will come to realize how little choice you have. You will do what you must, become what you must, or others will pay for your cowardice. You will accept the gifts offered to you.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that before, but I really like these dream sequences. Jahira also has some dreams, but anyway, just to finish my thought about the dream sequences of our protagonist, I really love them because they really make you think, and they are so relevant once we get to know more of the story. Some of the things that Irenicus is saying that might be unclear right now, they are all going to make, you know, perfect sense later on, and it's just it's a cool way that they expanded on that whole dream idea. I also loved the text descriptions of the dreams in the first game. That's generally a great part of Baldur's Gate games. Yeah, Jahiro, obviously we can, I think if we explore the other conversation option there, not the "you crazy wench" one, but the other one about you know, resting after a nightmare. She's going to say it plain that, you know, it's about Khalid, of course, but we can, you know, figure that out, that she has nightmares about him.
It will be done.
You can also see into this room, but all of these tables are empty. Alright, anyway, now we can get this Regen Ring to Anomen, I guess, and we're going to already use Anomen's... not Anomen's, Jahira's... oh, I didn't... I didn't I didn't switch
What is it? Searching.
her spells. I wanted, instead of 2 fire elementals, I wanted her to have 1 fire elemental and 1 heal, but I forgot. But anyway, it doesn't really matter all that much. We are going to, are going to use these small heals on Edwin, because his HP is pretty low. These are going to be effective. And the other characters are going to kind of regen over time.
Yes.
And if needed, we are going to use some potions on them. But yeah, now we have some sewer exploration to do. But before we go there, I am going to step into that Temple of Helm, and we're going to pick up some quests. Primarily because there's a funny exchange between Anoman and Korgan when we pick up this quest. But of course this relates to the person Gaul that had that speech a little bit further into the district that of course promoted the Unseeing Eye cult. About something about a new divine power emerging that actually is among us and cares, contrary to the gods that we know of. At least that was what Gaul was claiming.
Never betray trust.
So of course
Such
High
is
Watcher.
the will of the vigilant one.
Oh yeah, he had a longer line. But anyway, of course High Watcher Oisig approached us back then and wanted us to speak more about the whole thing. So of course he's going to hire us. And he's going to have a quest for us to look into this whole cult. Yeah, if what he says is true, and there is some kind of a new divine being, then it upsets the balance. And of course, if it is not true, then this cult, could basically hurt the followers that don't know any better. So he says that nothing really points to the emergence of a new deity, like Helm would know about such a thing. And yeah, Helm offers unwavering stability. True faith has no instant reward. Yeah, Helm very rarely appears in physical form. Walking with mortals is not the way of the gods. Okay, so we can progress the conversation. Yeah, the blindness they promote is abhorrent to Helm. A vigilant one informs us that the cult is underground and close, but we cannot see past the sewers. Right, so we're not going to investigate it right now, like I said, but the interjections of our companions are going to happen in a second. He also mentions Keldorn, who is now going to be present. Unless you actually pick up this quest, Keldorn is not going to be there. And he's a paladin. He's a cool companion. We're going to recruit him later. Yeah, Anoman actually says of Keldorn that he's a veteran paladin, but then if somewhat arrogant and overpious. Well, he's actually projecting. He's kind of like describing himself, really. Keldorn is like nothing like that. He's a pretty cool character. Yeah, and then Korgan, of course, doesn't want to have a paladin in our group. You are too far beneath my notice to even acknowledge such a comment. Repeat it, however, and I shall react much differently. And like no one seems to have any retort to Anoman, Like before he was like super rude to Jaheira and she had nothing to say to that, and now he insulted Korgan and he didn't respond either. And those are characters, Jaheira and Korgan, are one that are not generally afraid to speak their mind and display some attitude. Anyway, now we can also talk to Guardian Telwyn.
Hail! Are you one that would serve alongside the Guardians of Helm?
I love how he says that. Serve alongside the Guardians of Helm? Yes. So now he's going to have another quest for us. And basically the gist of it is that he wants to procure the services of an artist for the Helm's Temple. And yeah, there is a very famous artist visiting Athkatla right now, Sir Sorrel, second only perhaps to that poor prism of Nashkel. What a loss his death was to us. So a reference to BG1. Yeah, Sir Sorrel. He's going to be making a stop at the Gistev estate in the government district. And of course, The problem with the Sir Sorrels, though, is that, of course, besides his enormous commission fee, he claims he will work in nothing short of pure illithium, a metal more valued than gold. Well, what can I do? This is where you come in. I would ask that you convince Sorrels to honor Helm. Other churches court him as well, though they have no more illithium than we. Yeah. So, of course, we are here to, our mission is to negotiate with Sorrels and hire his services for Helm and not allow him to, work for the other temples. Yeah, I am certain he will choose Helm, no matter what deal he has already struck. None are more worthy. Conduct yourself with discipline. You are the eyes of Helm in this enterprise. So anyway, this is a useful quest, the Illithium quest. Also, now that it's daytime, we also have always a... from the 3 main temples, there's always a special priest outside that we can talk to, and we can ask him about the missing clerics, about the Unseeing Eye cult. And they're never going to have too much to tell about it, but the more interesting thing is that we can always ask about the deity being worshipped in the temple. So we can ask him more about Helm, and of course he's the vigilant watcher, and he values duty above all. He's the lawful, neutral kind of deity. Yeah, we're not interested in worshipping him though. And there's also going to be, Dawnbringer Alvana.
You are more than welcome.
We can now ask about Lathander, and you can, of course, as always, feel free to pause and read all the details. And so, of course, Lathander is the good aligned deity here. A patron that cares about like hope and creativity, stuff like that. Also, there's this halfling woman here. I'm just going to quickly teleport to the other side. And she actually seeks to establish a place of worship for Sorrel, which is a halfling goddess of the hearthfire, basically. The Hearthkeeper, she is called. Yeah, goddess of halflings. Halflings really do value that that warmth of the home's fire, and that kind of a safe place that they can call home. So she is, of course, a very appropriate goddess for halflings. This is going to be a pretty funny situation with Talon Nirkas here.
Hello there.
So here's Miranda approaching him. You don't remember me? We laid together an evening many moons ago, and this here is your daughter, Lainey. Greet her father, darling. Hello, father. Are you sure? I mean, I have no memory. You were deep into your cups that eve, Nirkas. Blame me not if you have no memory of the event. So, I want you to take responsibility for your child, foolish man. And the child is like, Mommy, I don't like this daddy. I like the other daddies better. So yeah, now her scheme is revealed. Oh, nothing, Talon Nirkas. A simple mistake, perhaps on my part. Please do excuse me. You are in such trouble, girl. Yeah, Talus's blessings on you, then. Good day. And if we actually talk to her, she's like, a woman has to make a living. Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
You're a stranger.
Yeah, and Lainey explains more, and she actually says that she doesn't want a daddy. She just... She has a couple of different lines, but anyway. And of course the third priest here, Talon Zogas, the outside priest, that we can actually ask him about Talos. Like, how is it that there is an evil temple here in Athkatla? But apparently evil temples in major cities are established so that the evil gods, like, don't smite those cities and, like, basically to appease them, it seems. I mean, of course, Talos is a god of destruction and of lightning, basically of hurricanes, thunders, stuff like that. And Jaheira actually has something to say about nature. So he calls us a heretic, and that's it. But anyway, now it is time to actually go into the sewers, and we have many things to accomplish there. So finally we get to this part of the game. We are not going to, yeah, I mentioned that, we're not going to investigate the Unseeing Eye yet, but there are a lot of things to do even before that. First there's going to be a fight here, and here I am going to explain one trick that I'm not going to use, involving the insect plague. So as you could see in some previous fights, it has a long, like slow traveling time and a pretty long cast time as well. So it's not something that you can get instantly up in a fight. There is kind of a trade-off for its power. But there are some tricks that you can do, because of course as any spell you can cast it on your own party members, and especially on summons. So there is a very well-known trick with, let's actually summon her a little bit further away, with Insect Plague and summons, is that you can cast Insect Plague on a summon, and summons don't trigger conversations, and you know, don't make neutral enemies hostile just by their presence. So basically we can time it so that
True beauty lies only in nature.
by the way, from the mod aTweaks, I actually have the different voice lines that are actually in game but weren't like implemented correctly apparently, and the nymphs and dryads and stuff like that have actually a couple of different lines. This type, the nymph, actually is going to say this all the time, and has this little like cheerful, she's going to hum like a cheerful song here when you give an order. But also if you rework, because aTweaks also has the component that I did not install, to rework the spell Call Woodland Beings to actually have a couple of different types of nymphs, they actually all have like a cool voiced line that is not just like this generic scream that you would have in the unmodded game. But anyway, so we can time everything in such a way that, for example, we have this neutral party here, and they are going to become hostile in a second, and I'm going to showcase that whole situation. And basically what you can do is you can place the summon amongst them with the insect plague shortly behind, and then, you know, time it so that you trigger them to become hostile just as the insect plague is about to hit your summon that's already there. And you can basically spread insect plague instantly. Like whenever they become hostile, you know, like half a second later they are affected by insect plague. So that's kind of a trick that I'm not going to use. Like I said, I am always going to just cast it normally on a hostile target, not on one of our own. And yeah, that's going to be it. I just wanted to mention that. And also we need some potions for Kiranai. She is going to heal up a little bit through potions. I think Corgan is going to stay behind, and he's going to get the Regen Ring soon. And also, I am going to pre-buff a little bit, because, you know, last time with Menkar I wanted to be quick, I didn't want to use too many spells, and actually it came back to bite me a little bit. So here we are going to buff up, although still not too extensively, because I think we're not going to go all out in this encounter. We are going to mostly engage that group that we've seen already from a distance, at least for a portion of the fight, and then once we applied some debuffs on them, some disabling spells, I think then we're going to go in. Alrighty. So actually what we can do is actually first cast the really long-lasting spells. Protection from Evil and Remove Fear from Anomen. And yeah, we're not really going to go all out when it comes to... Also, I should have rewarded Anomen's spells, because of course he leveled up and he had another slot here for these. Mistake. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to do too many like physical debuffs and stuff like that for our physical performance. I am going to do maybe a chant in a second. But first I'm going to apply Spirit Armor, maybe some mirror images. Edwin actually is going to get Stone Skin already, I think, and mirror images. Gorgon, I think, is going to stay back in this encounter. Jaheira can apply Iron Skins. And she can actually summon that nymph now. And then we're going to use Chant on everybody. Senashira, oh yeah, you have to wait a little bit, because we are going to haste ourselves as well, just to have quick movement in this fight. Haste is just, in general, like an amazing spell. And now Senashira is going to go for a Minor Globe. Right, so now she's hasted, and under the effect of Minor Globe, that protects her from spells of level 1, 2, and 3. So if we wanted to cast haste now, she would be immune to it. Anyway, we can approach a little forward now. I think this is basically as far as we're going to go with our buffs. Alright, and here is the group. So here's another, there's going to be some repeated names from Baldur's Gate 1 actually. First we have Tarnor the Hatchet Man, and if you remember in Baldur's Gate 1, in Durlag's dungeons on level 3, there was that bestiary kind of area, and we could enlist some help from these like statues of fallen adventurers, I guess, that fell in that, or were petrified or captured. Their spirit was captured in some way. Anyway, one of them was a dwarf named Tarnor, so here is his spiritual successor in Baldur's Gate 2, I guess. And yeah, they of course want a toll for allowing us passage, and of course we're not going to allow them to like talk to us like that. He also mentioned Galchubhair, which in Baldur's Gate 1 was one of the bandits in and he was actually called Ayun Galchubhair, and was a part of one bandit group in one of the wilderness areas. And also there was a tombstone in Nashkel mentioning Galchubhair. And also there's this guy Sorrel, and if you remember in Baldur's Gate City, when we were working with Aldeth in the Merchants League to actually find out what happened to his like co-owners, I guess, of the Merchant League, one of them was Sorrel, a mage named Sorrel that was already disposed of by the doppelgangers, and one of the doppelgangers actually pretended to be the actual Sorrel. Alright, so there's going to be 6 of them actually. Sorrel is their cleric. They're all between levels 12 and 14. Draug Fey is a melee guy, a pretty tough dwarf. Then Tarnor Hatchetman actually has a thrown axe, so he's going to stay at range. Then Galchubhair is going to be their archer. There's also going to be a mage that they have, and that mage is level 14, I believe. This one, not Sorceress Amon, that I was a little confused last episode. And also there's going to be a fighter cleric called Rengard, and Sorrel is just a pure class cleric. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to bombard them a little bit with some spells. So I am going to actually wait for Tarnor, I think, to get hostile. Actually, I am going to cast Insect Swarm, I think, on Sorrel. Then we're going to use Edwin, I think, to throw in a web in there. And I think I'm going to throw in a Chaos with Senashira. And Anoman might throw in a little Holy Smite. Maybe he was going to be able to blind someone. And Kiranai, actually, instead of having this, let's give this to Corgan. I should have sold a lot of loot. Shouldn't have. I should have actually sold some stuff, and that was also one of the things I wanted to do, but of course I forgot. Oh man. Anyway, what I wanted to do is give these potions of explosions to Kiranai, and she's actually going to throw in one in there, just to soften them up a little bit. Alright, so let's check it out. Yeah, they are going to have a lot of buffs coming from Sorrel. They actually have chaotic commands like Sorrel has. They are going to have remove fear, like bless, defensive harmony, free action, some of them are going to have. So this web might not be too effective, but basically the only character that's going to go into melee is going to be Senashira, and she has minor globe, so she's not going to be affected by that. And she, this is kind of a better way of doing that, or the one that I prefer, instead of casting or having like a potion of freedom or casting free action on her, because that would block haste. And this way she can be hasted and also protected from web. We'll see how that web, how effective that is. Maybe it will catch some of them here and there in a web. Oh yeah, Galchubhair is held, so here he is, wanted to fire an arrow. And Draugfey actually already approaching in melee. So yeah, the insect plague is on its way. I guess Corgan, you can use some thrown axes on that guy. Oh wait, is anyone blinded? Apparently everyone's saved. But, oh, sweet, Gaius is their mage, and he is actually confused. So this is very, very good. And that was from Senashira's Chaos. It actually hit and confused 3 of them, Galchubhair and Rengard as well. So this is just progressing very, very nicely. Alright, now we can get rid of Draugfey that approached too deep into our party. You know, you...
True beauty lies only in nature.
This is one. True beauty lies only in this here nature. Alright, anyway. Now, maybe you can try and hold them.
Have you nothing else to do but bother me?
Bother me. You have your own wand of lightning, and you're going to, I think, use that in a second, but also, yeah, Anomen, Jaheira, Senashira, and Kiranai are going to try to deal with the Draug Fae. Let's just give them 2 lightning bolts each here. Boom. Actually interrupted Sorrel's spell, because Sorrel is not yet under the effect of Insect Plague, but now it's about to hit. Alright, it's spread out nicely between them. Right, now we're going to use Anomen and Jaheira and Kiranai are all going to use ranged weapons and not go inside that web. And who do we have here? Let's take care of Sorrel, he's not confused. And let's approach with Senashira and see what the situation is really like. So Gaius, he didn't even... his pre-buffs didn't trigger properly, I think, because he was off-screen. But he would have been affected by Chaos anyway, because Chaos is a level 5 spell, even if he wasn't, and same with Insect Plague. So even if his pre-buffs did trigger, and he had Minor Globe, or even Globe of invulnerability, these spells would have worked on him anyway. So it's not a big deal. Oh, I didn't want to actually charm this guy. It's just a nymph casting. You can go away, nymph. Alright, this we can just kill them as they are, I guess. Okay. Don't get so deep into that web, guys. While we have the chance, I guess I can kill Gaius. I actually have had this spell thrust prepared for him. But it's okay. All of them, actually, almost all of them got confused, affected by Insect Plague. Like, we completely disabled them, man. Alright, and while our buffs are still active, I am going to, before we loot them and see like what we could gain there. Oh, some kobold spawned. Now where's that nymph? Alright, disable her, and just you know, I don't want to use any more potions on Korgan, just stay behind Corgi. There's going to be another encounter here that I want to do while our buffs are still active. You know what, Edwin, just clear them out with a nice fireball, would you? Especially since there's a spell coming. Hold person on Kiranai. Let's just get her out of there. Alright, saved versus it. Anyway, now we're going to have this encounter with another group of kobolds and their master, I guess, a Rakshasa. And this is going to be the first time we encounter a Rakshasa, which is a pretty powerful opponent, although this, like, sewer version of Rakshasa, he is not as powerful as the later Rakshasas are going to be. But basically it's kind of like a fighter-mage hybrid creature that they usually have some spells at their disposal, both of protective nature and some offensive ones, and they can also dish out some damage with their weapons. But the most unique thing about Rakshasas is the fact that they are immune to spell levels from 1 to 7. So you actually can only affect them with spells of level 8 and 9, which of course we are nowhere near to having that those kinds of spells. And they also need magical weapons to be hurt, usually +2 or +3 later on. This one is going to be hurt by a +2 weapon. So we are going to approach with Senashira, and probably with Jaheira, Anomen, and Kiranai. Maybe I'm going to leave Korgan behind. We're going to have to overwhelm this one with just sheer physical damage. And I'm just going to use this Fireball charge to clear out some of these kobolds. Alright, and now let's approach, I guess. But first with Senashira. Since she has that Minor Globe, she's going to be immune to some of his spells. I think he has some lower level damage spells, like some fireballs, some magic missiles, that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, and his pre-buffs did trigger properly, so he has Shield, Mirror Image, Haste, Ghost Armor, Shadow Door. So improved invisibility effect. Not like it matters, you know, we wouldn't be able to hurt him with any spells anyway. Alright, let's just get rid of these. And what have you casted? Or what have you cast? It's Cloud Kill. Alright, so actually let's move out of that. Because normally what I wanted to do, if I did not if I hadn't forgotten to rework Animan's spells, I actually wanted to have a zone of sweet air for this very purpose, because this this Rakshasa always pretty much casts this cloud kill, and I think he can have like stinking cloud as well. So the zone of sweet air would counter that nicely, but we can just run out of it. All right, so here we're going to need Kiranai to dispel the illusions. All right, glitter dust was of course not effective because she has minor globe. Actually, we can already from this distance start attacking and then detect illusion. And now we can have Jaheira and Anoman approach and try to do some damage as well. Also, this Rakshasa, although it didn't... Alright, illusions dispelled. Although it didn't say in the list of his pre-buffs, Rakshasas pretty much always have stone skin as well, so I think this one also might have one. Yeah, alright, Skull Trap is going to do some damage to us. Actually, Seneschal was still immune to that, and her minor globe expired like half a second after that spell hit. Alright, now invisibility and mirror image minor sequencer, so detect illusion for the rescue here.
Yes, without doubt.
Actually, he made himself visible anyway, and I think we will be able to cut through these. Maybe we're not able to. Alright, we are able to cut through his protections anyway, before he can do anything more dangerous. Alright, so now we have done 2 of the important fights here, but there's still plenty more to do in the sewers. But I think since we are already so much over time and this cloud kill is still going, I'm just going to end this episode here, and the next episode is going to be after this cloud kill has already expired and we are ready to see what loot they dropped, examine it a little bit, and go on and engage in further adventuring. So I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time.